We were leaving Afghanistan with dignity and strength. Biden left in shame and defeat, a defeat like this country has never suffered before. This month marks the 2-year anniversary of the most embarrassing event in the history of our country, Joe Biden's disastrous surrender in Afghanistan. This was one of the horrible, horrible events in our country's past, leaving thousands and thousands of Americans behind. We don't even know the number. 13 dead warriors, hundreds of civilians killed and horribly wounded, including soldiers beyond the 13 soldiers that were so badly wounded. And $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world abandoned, handed over, call it what you want, to the Taliban. It was a surrender. Never before has there been such an egregious display of incompetence and weakness on the world stage.
We know that this man is incapable of telling the truth.
As I recall, and I think it's laid out in the Seaguar's report, the special IG for Afghanistan, it's about 80 some odd billion dollars worth of military aid total. That's everything from food and building barracks and uniforms and boots to include equipment over 20 years. Right. And then he cites, I think it's 7.2 billion of military equipment, U.S. manufactured military equipment that is with the Afghan security forces. That's Afghan owned equipment, not American equipment. Every piece of American equipment that the American military owned came out with us with Scott Miller, or he destroyed it on site. And that's a fact. So the idea that the American...
So this attack on Biden for not taking the equipment back is total bunk.
The Doha Agreement that President Trump and his administration entered into with the Taliban required the complete withdrawal of U.S. forces and diplomatic. That was the agreement that the Trump administration entered into. You said that had we not complied with that agreement, that there would be, quote, open war with the Taliban, right? That they had kept their agreement not to attack U.S. forces, which allowed us to withdraw and reduce our footprint. So here today, had we not withdrawn and not ended the war, would we be at open war with the Taliban?
I think the probability is greater than not that the Taliban would have reinitiated combat operations on 1 May or 2 May. The Doha Agreement says all force out by 1 May. The current administration, the State Department negotiated with the Taliban to get that extended, Zal-Khalilzad did, to get that extended until September, I guess it was, to buy some additional time. But there's little question in my mind that had the United States, that either president's agreement to withdraw, if we didn't withdraw 100%, then we would have been back at war with the Taliban. That's right.
With due respect, Grant, I mean, like, veterans, being one, right, and our friends are over there. Right. We followed this closely for multiple administrations, and we know the Trump's administration's efforts here were fairly weak. That they were trying to limit the number of people that would get out, and so there was coordination problems.
Joe, I'm gonna cut you. I'm already weak. I'm already low on time, Joe. Cut him off, please. Cut him off now. Cut him off now. You're not going to blame this on President Trump on my show.
We know that Donald Trump's entire life is a lie. So why would we be surprised that while he sits around and talk about what Biden left in Afghanistan and his followers keep blaming Biden for how he left Afghanistan and not even acknowledging that it was Donald Trump who actually made the deal for America to leave Afghanistan. And if Biden would have tried to keep American troops in Afghanistan, we would have been in violation of said agreement made by yours truly, the lying Trump. The lying Trump. So the idea that he's lying about $81 billion worth of American equipment that's left in Afghanistan is absolutely ludicrous. But so is his life. So is he.
Please, for me to understand.
Well, I was talking about how the leadership of this country caused 13 to get killed in Afghanistan, which I'm sure as a veteran that upsets you. They armed the Taliban. They now have training in the military for woke training. Those are the things I was talking about. Forcing COVID-19.
That has nothing to do with my service.
No, sir, I wasn't talking about your service. I was talking about today's military. Again, you've gotten that twisted, and I'm sorry
I haven't. I heard what you said. I read the text.
No, sir, you didn't hear my full message.
Here's the problem.
Sir, you can come out and argue with me, but I did
cast
not say that.
disparaging things against the Jewish
sir,
community.
I did not. No,
You
sir, I have
suggested
not.
a space laser.
No, sir, I have not. No, sir, I
You
have
are
not.
disrespecting the United States Congress,
No, sir,
and
I
you're
have not.
ashamed.
No, sir.
And I'm really horribly saddened that the 14th district has gone to such craziness.
And one of them said to me, Milley, he said, sir, it would be cheaper if we left everything. I said, where does this guy come? Where does he come from? A brand new airplane cost $128 million, right? I said, you mean you think it's cheaper to leave it than to fill it up with a little fuel? And fly it the hell out to, even if you just fly it to Pakistan, then you bring it back home or you fly it back home. Most of them can make that journey, right? Oh, it's better to leave it Earth. Oh, I don't want to tell you what I had to go through with these people. Some of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life. But we have.
Well, first of all, I'm not lifting my holds unless they move this policy back the way it was. You can't play dictator in the White House and the Pentagon and make your own laws. I ran for 2 years to get this job and represent the people of Alabama, and that's what I'm going to do. And we're going to vote on this, or we're not going to have promotions from admirals and generals unless they do it one at a time. But it's just awful what our military is going through right now. Every time I hear something about what they're doing on, for instance, Gerald Ford on this first mission of going out to sea after they finished it. You know, they're reading poems over the loudspeakers.
We are now at a point where Republicans no longer simply whisper things that we know are not true, like one of their favorite slogans, support our troops. Now they are just saying out loud the things that we already knew about them, but some of them would deny. And that is, the Republican Party has never been a party that cared about our troops. It was and has been a ploy for most of my life as a way to win votes.
So many Republicans who run around the hills saying that our military is weak and woke. Tommy Tuberville says they're woke because they read a poem, because somebody reads a poem on a ship. It's insanity. You have other senators saying that they'd rather our troops be more like Russians. So you know who says that in the military? Nobody.
From Bush sending troops to the wrong country after 9/11, to his administration not properly giving the troops the necessary armament to protect themselves, to the Republican-controlled Senate in 2012 that said a 58-40 vote was not enough to pass the Veterans Job Corps bill. And instead, they reverted back to the old Jim Crow tactic of saying that we need a filibuster to stop that, which was only $1 billion deal. $1 billion for training and also hiring veterans as first responders. It was called by some Republicans as a waste of money. A waste of money is what some senators said this was. Keep in mind now, this is the same party that supports Donald Trump and other Republican tax cut for the richest Americans. That, according to the Center of American Progress, can be summed up as follows. The need to increase the debt limit has focused attention on the size and trajectory of the federal debt. Long-term projections show that federal debt as a percentage of the U.S. economy is on path to grow indefinitely, with increased non-interest spending due to demographic change, such as increasing life expectancy, decline in fertility, decrease in immigration, and rising cost of healthcare, permanently outstripping revenues under projected base. And this is based on current law. Now, House Republican leaders will and have used this fact to call on spending cuts, but that does not address the true cause of rising debt. Tax cut initially enacted during Republican trifectas, that means Republican controls all three houses. In the past 25 years, slashed taxes disproportionately in favor, not of the most, not of the majority, but in favor, disproportionately for the wealthy and profitable corporations, and that severely reduced federal revenues. This is why we have a debt problem. This is why we have a deficit problem. This is it. It is not because we're overspending. It is not because we're spending too much. It is because Republicans are 100% responsible for this. And this study tells us clear as day that it was these tax cuts done by Republicans for the benefit of wealthy Americans and corporations that have led to this. So when we hear that a bill to help troops should be considered as waste, but these tax cuts that they all support, it's not waste, then we know exactly why Republicans like Donald Trump can carry on like this. And in this video, we see Trump mocking generals and crowds of Americans laughing. Where? How is this possible? Only in a party that does not respect our troops. Keep in mind, it was Donald Trump that also mocked John McCain for being caught and tortured in the Vietnam War, the same war that Donald Trump dodged because of fake heel spurs. So when I hear this, coupled with the fact that I myself am a veteran, then also a football coach in Tuberville, can exact so much damage on American troops, it's not just pissing me off. It's not a slap in the face of just veterans, service members, and our family. No, it's a slap in the face of the entire country of America. If we say we are as free as we are because of our military might, then why are we allowing Trump to continue to mock veterans, both dead and alive, and then Tuberville to do so much? It's because the Republican Party is not a party of patriotism. It is a party of do what I say or be labeled terrorist, be labeled anti-Christian, be labeled something other. Even in the face of us talking about Republican showing up as the most anti-democratic. And I'm not talking Democrat, tall D, I'm talking Democrat, lowercase d. Our country's in a grave position right now, and it's our choice to do something about it. But we sit idle and let Republicans get away with what Trump and Tuberville just showed us what they're capable of. Do better. I'm Mondale Robinson. Have a great day. Not before you think about it.